All righty, here we go. It is Flyers Lightning Flyers game day with Jason Martinez, Chris Terry, and Brian Smith. And we haven't done one of these guys in a while where it's stream only first.
Yes.
In our radio audience, with MMR in a little bit, but right now it's stream only.
It's all you hear on Twitter and Flyers Radio 24/7. We got that on here too. So a good one tonight here as the Tampa Bay Lightning are in town. But we'll be doing this more and more, I think, as the season goes on. We might get some longer programming in here and have a good time with it.
Yeah, it is. You know what, we've talked about it, guys. I think, Smitty, first of all, the executive move of the year was moving it out of the bar on the main concourse in the back corner.
Didn't have to ask me twice.
To back up here on the balcony and I guess we call it, Jason, the Snow the Goalie Sportsbook.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Bundy. The fact that you're applauding not getting pulled out of the bar is amazing. After 13 years now of sobriety.
Is anybody going to care if I do it like this, though? Because then I can actually watch warm-ups.
But
it is better from the back of your head.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
It is. Well, we knew that already. But you know what the good part is?
Still got all the hair there, though.
People are starting to rock the balcony, and I think it's actually starting to become a thing. Like,
it's a cool spot,
It's a cool spot to hang out. Yeah, like it's like everybody that it's like the whack pack up here.
Yeah,
I remember
everybody's packed
I remember
up
when
here.
when this place opened, it was unbelievable up here. It was, that first season was 1920, and it was a good team, and it was a new thing, and then COVID hit, and it kind of faded away. I think a lot of people forgot about it, and now it's kind of coming around again. But I wouldn't want to watch a game anywhere else in this building, but up here, personally, because you can go wherever you want. You're not crammed into a seat next to a bunch of people. It's a great spot.
And they do release these tickets, guys, on usually day of assembly room tickets. Yeah. They released 200 of them today for $25. That's the absolute best bargain you're going to find to come
total
to a Flyers
steal.
Game.
I agree with you. It's become a cool place to be, and
it's terrific.
Hang
it's
out.
Got great sight lines for broadcasting, Jason. Like, fans come by, give us a thumbs up. Like, everybody gets into the game doing it. There it is,
like that,
right there, man. Just like that, brother. And you know what?
How much did we pay that guy to do that?
There is. We didn't, but the timing was unbelievable.
There
is a hockey game tonight,
There is?
Yeah. And we've got actually a very enormous storyline, which is where we're going to start.
Yeah,
and it's the line combinations and how the lines are slotted. And we know Sean Couturier came back after 21 months not playing. Played a ton of minutes, too many minutes in the beginning of the year, over 20 a game, sometimes over 23 a game. And the candle's been burned at both ends, and the flame is met in the middle. His game has suffered a little bit of late. And he's going to be playing with Nick Deslauriers on the fourth line tonight, Bundy.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know how long it'll be, but you always say, how many fourth-line captains are there in the NHL? Well, there's one now that I can name, and there's been a couple others. But, yeah, you know what, guys? Listen, Sean Couturier, to me, has a great chance to win the Masterson Trophy for, dedication, perseverance to the game of hockey, coming back for 2 years. But at the same time, for where the Flyers were at, and I got to say this with respects to every party, you needed Sean Couturier to play those minutes because that's where they're at, and he showed the leadership. The problem is you ran him right into the ground. Like, I don't want to say he's cooked, but we got about 25 games in and around? Is it 20?
Yeah, 24 something like that.
And if he's been minus 13 in his last 15 games, that's got to be the worst stretch that we've seen for Coots in any time in his long tenured Flyer career thus far. So again, and you know what? And then on the other side for the coaches, they used him a lot in every situation. What else are they going to do? Again, I worry about the Coots down the road, but I also think that this is something that maybe they knew was going to happen. The team is in the playoffs right now with 25 games to go, and Sean Couturier has had a humongous part of that. I don't know how you could have gotten him into 17 or 18 minutes without putting him on the power play, and a guy like that has to feed on the power play to make him feel good. Any guy gets points wants to be on the power play if you do what he does defensively. So, again, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think you said it right, Jason, where the flames met in the middle. But there's no doubt they did not have any kind of a scheduled set for Coots during the year. They just played him, played his ass off, and as a result, now he's completely wiped out and gassed.
And to that end, I would speculate that maybe what you're seeing tonight, like a lot of times a guy gets knocked down to the fourth line because he's playing bad. I'm not so sure that that's the impetus as much as it is, okay, we can't you can't give him the night off. We don't have enough players right now, but give him a night where he only plays 15 minutes, something like that. Maybe just try to ease it off a little bit, because starting Friday, this team plays 16 games in 31 days or something ridiculous like that. It's just not going to end.
It's crazy, Brian. Yeah, and you know what? The other side of that too, guys. When you have a guy like Coots, he may start there tonight, but at the same time, I can assure you, a guy that's as proud as him and been playing here as long as he has, I'm certain he's going to be ticked off getting, escorted to the fourth line nonetheless. It's visible. It's open to everybody to see. Tonight, Coots starts on the fourth line after a couple weeks of being the captain on the team. So, again, maybe Brian getting the minutes down for a night or two helps restore him for a couple more games forward. But with a back and all the other things, hey, Jason, we've talked about this year.
Yeah.
Your back is not just your back. It's connected to your groins, your hamstrings, your glutes, your quads, and everything. If you're not stretching that, and it's
between your ears too, by the way.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely. Wondered about it. And those are the things why backs are so weird. It has nothing to do with the one spot in the back. It's everything else around it that has to pick up for that one area. And so that's why Coots is so exhausted right now, and that's why he was overworked. But at the same time, I don't know what else the coaching staff was going to do when you have a guy that's been that valuable.
Well, here's the thing, Bundy. I talked about this the other day in regards to goaltending because of the 15-day games in 30 days coming up. And you can't drain the tank of a goaltender because you won't ever get to put any gas back in the tank for the remainder of the season, but because of the nature of the position. The recovery for a forward is a little bit different in that regard. Can there be a recovery that takes place in season with this schedule for a guy like Sean Couturier, or did you drain the gas tank dry and you just really can't ever get it satiated again within the season? That's
really hard. There's going to be nights where, it's going to feel like climbing a mountain, I guess, in certain ways that, you got to find that second win some nights, but I wouldn't bet on it often. Listen, the guy hasn't played in 2 years. And when you think about what he's done this year, it's been an absolute incredible season. And it's not over. I mean, it's not at all, but I'm hoping that a breather gives him a chance. But managed minutes during the year would have alleviated this situation, but I don't know where the Flyers would be in the standings.
Right.
Otherwise.
Yeah.
Cates being out didn't help it either because he could have handled some of the heavy lifting and PK
some of it, absolutely, Jason. That's a very fair point.
And I think to your point too, Bundy, we don't know exactly where the game is going to go. I think John Tortorella said as much today that it's like, he's almost at the point right now where he's going to put together the guys that are going on any given night that are playing well, because that's really the only way they're getting offense right now is just to see, okay, who's hot tonight. Obviously, it's been Scott Laughton the last 7 games. This is the first point streak of this length in his career, so he's up top to start tonight, and I guess we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you're gonna see some changes. Stuff will happen some nights with guys, but it's not like Torts has 32 guys and he's got a bench, 12 of them.
Right.
You got 23 players in your lineup, barring injuries and plus or minus. I mean, listen, tonight's lineup is a pretty simple one. The guy that's out of the lineup tonight as a healthy scratch should have been out of the lineup and probably stayed out of the lineup with Cam Atkinson. I mean, he's at a point the last game, guys, he's throwing pucks in the middle of the ice, giving Pittsburgh first period opportunities. Those are the things that John Tortorella, who this guy's played for many years, should know better by now. So Lixell goes back in the lineup tonight, 6 defensemen.
And Bobby Brink is up.
And Bobby Brink came back up. So I had the lines earlier. I probably have a little brain cramp right now, but the first line you said, it looks like Laughton will be centering. They'll probably start that, with Forster and is it Cates?
Tippett.
Tippett, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah. Your set it and forget it line right now is Paling, Cates, and Hathaway. I mean, when
which
you look
is
at the
in and of itself a problem. I mean, like Torch said, those guys can't score goals and check. They can't do everything.
I mean, you look at the lineup card right now. The center order goes Laughton's line, Paling, Frost, Couturier. That should, based on performance and if things are going well, it should be reading Couturier, Frost, Paling, Laughton, or Couturier, Frost, Laughton, Paling. It shouldn't read inverted like it is.
Right. But you know what? It's pretty funny, actually. Smitty just showed me this. This is very deliberate, the way these lines are listed. It's totally unbelievable. Like, I'm telling you, because Frost will see that, the third line, and Coots, and I'm telling you that he flipped them. So, guys, because that's what they're going to see on the board, this lineup sheet here.
Yeah.
absolutely is a psychological messaging.
Mental
as well.
warfare.
Yeah, 100%. That's funny. I just noticed that. I pick up on stuff like that too. That's really funny.
And we see 11-7 running on Tampa Bay's side tonight.
I'm just going to bring that up.
Yeah, as I say, and looking at the same thing that I'm looking at, Jason, have there ever been more letters used in a goaltending tandem than this tonight for Tampa Bay? Vasilevsky and Johansson.
Yeah.
That is a boggle board right there of letters for those guys.
And neither of them are
it is
spelled
Vasilevsky,
traditionally.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Johansson went in his last game. He's only gotten 5 starts since Vasilevsky has come back after he missed 17 of the first 20 games this season. And Vasilevsky's a horse. Statistically, his numbers aren't great. But Bundy, dealing with Nikita Kucherov, the Flyers saw it in that last game, it's like waking up with a cold sweats, a bellyache. You don't know where to go, what to do. He plays the game at just varying pace at all times. He's got incredible vision, buttery soft hands, can shoot he can do it all. He's leading the league in points with 102. What do you do against this guy tonight? Is there a particular matchup that you want him, to have to deal with all night?
I remember a few years ago, just thinking when he said 102 points with 25 games to go in and around, right? I remember like Jamie Benn won the scoring race one year with like 97 points or 94 points one year.
There were a few years going there where nobody got over 100 in I think 2 or 3 straight years or something like that.
Here's my concern when I look at Tampa. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They've won 2 in a row. Mm-hmm. And again, what I look at a team that's won 2 cups as a team that probably knows how to turn it on at a certain time. So with a win at the Islanders, 2 convincing wins at the Islanders and Devils, the Flyers should expect another hard battle tonight against a team that's had a lot of success against the Flyers with a lot of the same core in this group. Kucherov is a guy that is so dangerous because he looks like he's floating out there, and he's not really floating at all. He's making plays. He sees the ice so well. Another guy that if you can keep him to the perimeter, you can have some success and limit his opportunities. If he gets the middle of the ice on you and he can make plays down in and around the net, you're going to have a really long night, like an extremely long night. The other thing you want to do with this team, and I don't care what their numbers are or whatever they look like, you cannot put them on the power play with lazy bad numbers.
Number 1 in the league, Bundy. 29.3%.
Yeah, it's kooky. That's why I said I didn't want to spit out the stuff. But I was like, what? That's the no-no, and that's where the 102 points comes up with a lot of those.
And that's the thing too with how these games line up here over the last couple of months of the season. I mean, again, you said it. They just came through and took care of the Islanders and took care of the Devils, and that's huge for the Flyers, who haven't had many points in the last few games. And now it's their turn to just come in here and try to continue that, because while Tampa's been able to hold those guys off, now you got Washington coming. So that's another problem with the log jam is all of a sudden now they're climbing the ladder.
Are they ever? Yeah, and there's and then the teams you think that are would be trying to get close to you, the Devils, they can't find any kind of rhythm.
Nope.
So that's why these games are important. And for the Flyers, and we've talked about this, every single 2 points that you can dig in and find coming down the stretch is a gift. Like it's precious 2 points. And that's why it's so important for them to get off the schneid, find a way to dig in and continue to find points any way you can until you get healthy again a little bit, to maybe find a little bit, another layer to their game. The game the other day is one, Jason and Brian, where you got to toss it out, the Pittsburgh game, because it's one of those games where you end up doing a lot of good, but your goaltender lets you down, and it makes you as a player feel like you didn't do your job either as goals go in. So that's one where you got to toss it, move on, and just forget it even happened. Yeah. Pittsburgh, to me, is not they're not a threat.
No, they showed by the way they played that game too that they're not to be taken seriously.
100% agree with you.
I think I said this to John Twitterell when we taped hockey. It's one where the goalie goes into the locker room after the game and says to the team, "It doesn't matter how many you scored today. I was going to let in one more. Whether you scored 3, I was going to let in 4. Whether you scored 6, I let in 7. If you scored 13, I was going to let in 14."
Yep.
It
was one of those wheels off.
One of those games. Yeah. And Bundy, as a guy who was a defensive defenseman in this league, real quick on that game, how about the performance of Erik Karlsson defensively? Oof.
I mean, that
was hard to watch.
They want the offense. They paid an awful price for him to get him here, but again, I like that kind of skill and then nice passing, but play that kind of defense and you make that kind of a commitment. You're telling your whole team you're not really that interested in playing hockey in a 200-foot style, and that's bad messaging everywhere.
A passenger of the highest authority defensively in that game. Oh my God, he was in a sidecar, like on an old motorbike.
He did. He looked like a guy playing in a men's league game. I don't know how else to put it. He did.
Oh, yeah, that's really bad. Let's have Bundy go. We're going to send Bundy over to Snow the goalie.
Yeah, you got it, guys.
All right.
I just get to go around the pillar, which is great.
Yeah. Well, there's security here waiting to walk you around.
Yeah, that's right.
Make sure you don't get bamboozled here by your public.
10 feet. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next game. Thanks.
Good job, Big Al. We're going to join our radio audience here in a couple of minutes.
Are you listening to them? Because I'm not.
I am now.
Okay, good.
I'm actually listening to Bush, I think it is.
Yeah, I was going to say I can bring it up, but it would be Bush on the stream too. So
yeah,
I don't want to get it shut down.
I can tell Gavin Rossdale's voice from 100 miles away.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I don't know the song though. He's the singer of Bush. he was married to Gwen Stefani, for goodness sake.
I gathered that. I know who she is.
Poor Blake Shelton.
No.
So the lines tonight. Actually, we'll wait for a radio audience to go full deep dive in the lines. But it is interesting because Tampa is going 11-7. As much as Bundy says he hates 11-7, and there's another guy over on Tampa that I know hates it as well, and that's Victor Hedman. He'd rather you go 14-4, right? So he can play 28 minutes.
Let's go 16-2, and I'm going to play 60 minutes tonight.
Yeah, he would absolutely love that. But it won't affect his usage in the game. It'll only affect their third pairing, but. The Flyers going with the traditional 12 and 6, and it is obviously Sam Emerson back in net today. No Travis Konechny, no obviously Jamie Drysdale, who is week to week. We saw today. We learned from the GM.
Yes,
and obviously Rasmus Ristolainen still listed as week to week as well. TK day to day.
Yeah, I mean, again, real quick touching on Tampa, those bottom three defensemen, I have no idea who any of them are, so that maybe doesn't say much. But on the Flyers side of things, it sounds to me like Jamie Drysdale is now week to week, starting 2 weeks from now. So what the statement seemed to say to me, Danny Briere said that
the next check-in.
He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks, and then probably week to week from there. We did get a little bit of a hint from Cam York today, who sits next to Jamie Drysdale in the locker room and is one of his best friends on the team, that he probably avoided the worst case scenario. And I think in that meaning that he may not need season-ending surgery. That was probably the worst case scenario for that. So that's good news. And, again, where we are in the season right now, maybe he gets to rest up and is ready for a stretch run.
Yeah, and that avoiding a surgery in the worst case scenario, I think sometimes we look at that and we go, well, if he's not going to play, it doesn't matter. It's just that's off-season stuff. But I think the off-season, especially for a 21-year-old guy that plays D, being able to prepare for a season and not rehab from a surgery, I think there's an enormous difference in those two things. I think sometimes we minimize it and just go, oh, it's off-season. It is what it is, right? It's an off-season. But it's not. It's a totally different offseason.
We have seen this with Joel Farabee. We have seen this with Shane Gostisbehere. We have seen this
Kevin
with
Hayes,
Claude Giroux, all sorts of people that have gone into these, these off seasons needing a surgery, and then it takes them half the year or more to get back to their playing.
Break down the scar tissue. All right, we're getting ready to join our radio audience.
Okay.
This is the Flyers pregame show on 93.3 WMMR.
That's right. It is Flyers game day. Jason Martinez, Brian Smith. It is the Flyers and the Bolts at Wells Fargo Center tonight. Our final game of the dog day of hockey month of February. And we're going to turn our attention to March.
Oh, wait a minute. What is Friday? Oh, Friday's the 1st. That's right.
Yeah, it's a leap year.
I thought we had one more. Okay,
nope.
Never mind.
This is it, Smitty. Then we get into March, and it's none of this easy schedule anymore. It's 15 games from the 1st to the 30th. It's going to be no joke.
Yes. Yeah, and not just that, but the teams they are playing in those 15 games. I mean, my goodness, it is the Flyers are going to need every bit of this cushion they've built up because they're going to see some tough competition. And, you're not too concerned about how things are going right now because Stanley Cup winners generally do not peak in February. Not that the Flyers are necessarily going to be a Stanley Cup contender, but what I mean is that this isn't the time of year to be playing your best hockey. The time of year to be playing your best hockey is late March into April as you head into the playoffs. But the Flyers are going to have to take care of business to a certain extent just to get into the playoffs because of how tight things are right now.
Yeah, I've actually thought about that in regards to the Rangers because there was a lot of years the Flyers late January in through February were just an absolute nightmare for opponents. But then when came playoff time, it was like a notch down, and that would be to their detriment. I wonder if the Rangers are going through that with their 10-game win streak right now.
Absolutely. I mean, what always jumps back to me is that the best I have ever seen the Philadelphia Flyers play with my own eyes was in January of 2011. And remember, that was the year after the Cup run. Flyers won the division that year back when they were in the Atlantic Division. That was their last division title. That's the best hockey I've ever seen them play. And you see what happened from there. It fizzled out. They barely got past Buffalo in the first round and got swept by New Jersey. So, yeah, I mean, you peak too early in this league. It's hard to maintain it just with how good everybody else is.
Yeah, and look, we saw Tampa the one year just storm through a regular season and just have to kind of wait down the stretch. And then John Tortorella's Columbus Blue Jackets swept them.
The first time
about that today.
The first time they got punched in the face, they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, that first game of that sweep, Tampa was up big and Columbus
3-0
came back.
Yeah, came back 1-4.
I remember I was watching that game in the Gold Ice Arena at the University of Delaware. I don't know why I remember that, but the first time they got punched in the face, they didn't know how to handle it, and so that's why a little adversity during the regular season isn't that bad a thing either.
Yeah, and we were taping Hockey and Hounds today, and you and I were talking to Torts about that, Bri, and how to deal with Nikita Kucherov because the Flyers didn't deal with him great, and that's what was a 6-3 loss against the Lightning back on January 23rd. You're going to have to deal with it better in this game tonight. And you're going to be a little shorthanded. No TK in this game. Sean Couturier is playing the fourth line. At least he's starting there. There's some interesting storylines tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about this, bless you, a little bit in our pregame show on our stream that Sean Couturier does start tonight centering the fourth line. I'm looking at that not so much as a demotion, but a minutes management type thing, maybe trying to give him a little bit of a breather. You can't really give him the day off right now because the Flyers don't have enough players to do that. They could call somebody up, give him a day off. But I don't think they want to do that either. They still want him out there. And, we may very well see these lines move around as Torch said today in his media availability that, he's basically just going to, when we get to a third period of a game, he's going to throw the guys out there that are hot on that given night because they need the 2 points on that given night, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, who's got the jump in that game? Make that assessment as you go. Cam Atkinson tonight. We saw him take a lot of extra practice time today after the morning skate. He is a healthy scratch in the lineup tonight. And we welcome the return of Bobby Brink, who had the game-winning goal on Friday in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And Ole Lexell is still here, so you got a couple of call-ups.
Yeah, so Bobby Brink went down to the AHL, and he played 11 games, point per game, at 11 points in that time span. But a good bit of it has come in the back half of it. He had 6 points in the last 4 games for Lehigh Valley, including a 4-point game and a win down at Charlotte on Saturday night. So, he definitely seemed to find the offensive side of his game a little bit. Torch today said he's not sure he's found the entirety of his game, but definitely did get his mojo going a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see how it translates back to the NHL level tonight.
Flyers line combinations, Scott Lawton centering Owen Tippett and Tyson Forster, Ryan Paling, Noah Cates, and Garnet Hathaway. Then it's Morgan Frost, Joel Farabee, and Bobby Brink. And as we mentioned, Sean Couturier centering the fourth line with Nick Delaurier and Ole Lexell. Sanheim and York together, Sealer and Walker, Chalk there. And then Zamula and Stahl with Drysdale out of the lineup. People wondered, well, maybe they'll call up a D, maybe call up Ronnie Adder, get another right shot in. We'll see if that ends up happening. And it's Sam Ersson tonight versus Andrei Vasilevsky. Flyers got to do a better job keeping the puck out of their net.
It is going to be interesting to see how they handle the defensive situation. They do have 2 guys waiting in the wings to maybe get another shot at the NHL level. But for now, they'll stick with Mark Stahl and see how it goes.
Yep, and you're going to be dealing with a potent set of offensive players for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and don't put them on the power play. They're tied for the league lead in that regard. You don't want to put strength against strength, their power play against your PK. Just avoid it. We don't even need to have that conversation. But stay tuned. We got Tim Saunders, Todd Fedoruk. They're going to have conversation. It's called the Countdown to Face Off, and that's coming up right after this. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.